Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. Here we are, the build-up to the World Championships, Paul. Special time of year.
The best time of year. It's got nothing to do with you driving home with Christmas songs on. It's got everything to do with that first walk up the hill and realising that everything you've done for the year is the culmination. Well, it's Ali Pali, and there's no other place like it.
Going to be interesting this year as well, because Peter Wright won't have thrown a competitive dart since the Grand Slam. Gerwyn Price not won a TV title, and Michael van Gerwen looking very good.
Open World Championship, what could be better? When it comes to Peter, though, I think when he had his layoff in the summer, he came back to the European Tour in Hungary and he looked sharp. And sometimes forced breaks for certain players, not everybody, but certain players who are just so sharp all the time, may just do them some good. And we always used to talk about Phil Taylor not playing every event, but when he would go to the Worlds, he was always be ready. So I've got no doubt in my mind that Peter will be ready. But as far as the others are concerned, I don't think they're going in there with the amount of confidence that maybe they have in previous years.
MVG, the favourite right now, do you agree with that?
100%. I actually thought, after the match play, that Michael was nailed on to win this. I just thought it was going to be one of those years where he'd pick up the Prem, he'd pick up the match play, he'd pick up the Grand Prix and the Worlds, you know, the big four. And he's got three of them, so why not the fourth? But it's going to be tough for him, but we know how much he loves set play, and he hasn't won one in a while, so it'd be a good way to crack that little drought.
He looks sharp now as well. That the game has always been there, but maybe the focus hasn't. But in recent tournaments, that focus and that drive really seems to be there with Michael again.
I've actually been speaking to Chris Mason a lot about Michael over the last couple of weeks. We're trying to micro-analyse him to see whether he is going to be the favourite for the World Championship, and there are signs that he will be ready. He does look focused. The game against Josh Rock, everybody should pay attention to the focus that he had in that game, because he could have easily just fist pumped the young man and said, yeah, well done. He realised that was only one leg of darts, and after that he really had to be the 100% prime focused MVG, and he was. And if he takes that to Ali Pali with good health, good energy, then he will definitely be at the thick end of it. But there's other things as well. I just think his technique is a little bit better than it was maybe 18 months ago as well. I think he's figured a couple of things out, and whether that's on purpose or not, it doesn't matter as long as they work.
On Josh Rock, phenomenal first year, but have we just got to be a little bit careful with the hype around the young man?
Most definitely. And to coin the phrase of an Oasis album, definitely maybe. And we're talking about 2023 already with Josh, because it will be his second album, you could say. Now, Oasis' second album was pretty good, but as far as Josh is concerned, he's only a kid. He's had a great year. Let him blossom into the player that he will be for a 10-year period. And I just love the way he goes about his business. He's got a really good game about him. He's got great levels. And I just want to keep watching him play without putting too much pressure on him.
We've seen a lot this year. One surprise that Gerwyn Price doesn't have a TV major title, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are now, to his name. Is that a surprise to you as we go into the World Championships?
Yeah, I think it is. I think he's had a lot of challenges in 2022. Obviously, the hand injury in the middle of the Premier League didn't help. I personally don't think he's suited to the Premier League. He has such hot weeks, and then for the 16-week period, it doesn't seem to come together. And we know what he's like when there's an event that doesn't quite suit him. He'll figure it out. He did it with the Grand Prix, he won that, and now he's a great double-start player. He'll figure out the Premier League at some point, but as far as not winning another huge event this year, yes, it's a shock, but he's not a robot, he's a human being, and it's happened to the best of them.
All eyes as well on the ladies' game at the moment, and Fallon Sherrock will be at the Worlds. What was your take on the whole thing? Because I felt there was a lot of good points in that whole announcement missed because the focus was on Fallon.
I think when you talk about the ladies' game, everybody's first thought is Fallon Sherrock because of her success and what she's done for the profile of the ladies' game. So yes, there was a lot lost in that press release, which was a great thing from the PDC to offer more for the women's series, and they want the women's game to blossom in the right way over the next 10 years. And everybody focused on the Fallon Sherrock situation, and that's just the way it works with social media. They'll pick a story and they'll go with it.
Do you agree with his decision, and maybe it was just the timing of the announcement that was off?
I think everybody agrees with that. I think everybody wanted Fallon to be part of it. Obviously, she didn't finish in the top 2, and Bo had this ridiculous run. And I said, writing for Sport and Life this week, that if Bo had been 3rd and Fallon had been 2nd, I still think they would have found a way to get Bo in there. But the way it is, we're always going to pick apart something like this if it's in favour of someone and maybe not in favour of somebody else. But as far as this announcement, if it had been done before the match play, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, on what you said there, I'm not sure if you saw it, but we interviewed Matt at the World Grand Prix and we asked him about the famous 96 spot as it was then, because no one knew what was going on with it. We asked him, has it been allocated? Do you know where it's going? His answer was yes. So the decision was made even before a dart was thrown that we were going to have 3 women at the World Championship. It was just a question of which 3.
Well, there you go. He knows more than anybody else, and Matt's a very, very clever guy. He does everything for the company, for the game, and everybody will focus on that one story, but let's focus on the kind of things that the PDC as a whole are trying to do for the game as a whole, and that's the kind of stance that I want to have. I want the ladies' game to thrive. I've wanted that for years. I stood on my soapbox on that balcony at Lakeside and said, Des Jacqueline and Paula and everybody involved in the BDO at the time, they weren't doing enough to put the ladies' game where it should be, and consequently, since then, it's not down to me, by the way, it's down to everybody else who was listening. They've started to do this, and this is what we should be focusing on.
Well, on the ladies' game as well, great news with the ADC Women's Tour as well, and it's not going to clash with the Women's Series, so even more opportunities for these ladies to play in competitive environments.
Yeah, and not all of them can travel all over Europe, all over the world to get ranking points. There's so many different ways of playing any sport around the world these days, but if we're trying to blossom something, whether it be the junior game, the development level of 16 to 25, or whether it's the ladies' game, we need to have different ways for people to be included, whether that's worldwide, nationwide. And I was talking to Corinne Hammond in the summer, which was very, very apt, because she couldn't travel outside of the UK because she was doing some stuff with passports and that kind of thing. So imagine if the ADC circuit was around this year, it would have been much better for her to travel to things around the UK when she couldn't go to the Ladies Series in August and she felt almost landlocked. So this announcement by the ADC, boy, do they do a lot of new stuff, by the way. But look what they've done. They've given us Adam Atkinson, they've given us loads of great talents coming through. This is what we want. We want a really boisterous amateur circuit. We want people who are going to be fed into the PDC system, and ultimately the goal is for everybody to have a home to play.
On yourself as well, played in the Super Series. Have you had time to digest and have a look at the good bits and the bad bits of the few nights you played?
Yeah, it took me a few days just to figure out what went right and what went wrong. I'm thrilled that I got a couple of wins. I didn't play particularly well, but you know what my body's like. It tends to break down if you. I'm like a house of cards. I'll just fall down. But mentally, I felt pretty good. I was very fortunate though that I had a practice room with Richie Howson, Tony O'Shea, Wes Newton, and it was just a great bunch of boys to be almost massaged back into the realm of playing competitive stuff. As to what I'm going to do in 2023, it does depend on my right hand, because I've got a bit of nerve damage in my right hand. I don't know how that's happened, but hopefully my chiropractor will fix that. And it was very enjoyable, and without talking too much, I'd love to play it again in 2023.
That's good, because as I say, social media went off the chart when you were back. Obviously, you saw the analytics that we showed you and everything like that. So the Asset fan base is still there.
Well, I don't know why. I'm a bit of an antique these days compared to the likes of Josh Rock and Bo Greaves. But no, it was good fun. It was nice to don the shirt again. And when we finished working on the equipment aspect with Winmore, because that's what we're doing at the minute, we think there are some tweaks that need to be made. When I've got the right dart in my hand, I do still think that I can play good darts.
Pleasure as always, my friend, and thanks very much for joining us at Online Darts.
Thanks, Phil.